Beloved child, listen to me carefully, for your arrival at this moment is not by chance. Those around you are perplexed, stunned, even restless. They have witnessed with their own eyes how they plotted your ruin, how they entangled you in accusations, how they hurled words and traps in the hope of seeing you fall. But what no one can decipher is that you remain steadfast, stronger, more radiant, more untouchable than ever. You move forward with a serenity that unsettles everyone, with a peace that cannot be bought or forged, with a strength that does not originate in this world. And this truth consumes them, for in their hearts echoes a question that steals their sleep. Who are you, truly? What power sustains you when all predictions pointed to your downfall? How can it be that after so many battles, your gaze remains steady and your soul intact? Doubts multiply in secret. Some whisper that it's luck, others invent stories, and some simply fall silent, but no one can deny the obvious. There is a mantle of protection over you that defies all earthly logic. And this message will reveal that truth, because what they tried to annihilate was precisely what confirmed your essence. A chosen one, sealed by my divine hand, impossible to bring down. Prepare yourself. For what you will hear from now on will not only clarify why your protection confounds the world, but also why your destiny will shake everything around you in a way that no one can stop. Before we proceed, I ask you to do something. Like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment Amen. Why Amen? Because in my kingdom, that word seals what is perfect, what has been decreed by me, and cannot be broken. So it is with your life, sealed, guarded, and protected by an eternal covenant. They tried everything. They watched you in silence, like predators analyzing every step of their prey. They dug through your past in search of wounds, flaws, moments of weakness they could use as weapons. They scoured your history as if searching for cracks in a fortress, certain they would find the source of your strength or the exact point to destroy you. But all they found was frustration. For the deeper they searched, the more questions arose in their minds, like an endless labyrinth. Some wonder, how did you overcome storms that devastated others? They ask why, after so many betrayals, your heart has not hardened. They are astonished to see that even when you were stripped, rejected, or wounded, you rose with an even brighter spark in your eyes. And what troubles them most is that they find no explanation for this. To them, there is no human logic, no psychological tactic, or earthly discipline that justifies your resilience. Because what sustains you is not written in books, nor calculated in equations. While they cling to probabilities, you live in the certainties I give you from above. While they search for reasons in what is visible, your identity is sealed in the invisible. You are not merely someone shaped by pain. You are someone chosen by me before you were born. It's as if your soul carries a sacred seal that others cannot comprehend, a divine code that prevents them from deciphering you with ordinary logic. This is the true cause of their obsession with you. They cannot tolerate the enigma. They want to label you, to say, I know who he is, I know why he wins, I know how to destroy him, but they will never succeed. And this void of answers devours them from within. It's like gazing at a star that shines beyond the ordinary. They see it clearly, but cannot explain the source of so much light. The most unsettling thing is that even those who tried to betray you in secret cannot understand why their plans dissipated like mist. The mystery of your identity frustrates conspiracies, unravels schemes, and leaves the most cunning in shock. Because your steps do not follow their script, your victories do not obey the rules of their game, and your strength does not come from the weapons they know. Some believe it's mere luck. Others imagine you hold a dark secret. But what none of them dare admit aloud is what they already know in their hearts. Your strength comes from me. Because if it were human, you would have fallen by now. If it were human, you would have been destroyed. And yet, here you are, advancing with an invisible armor that disorients and challenges anyone who tries to confront you with hatred. Listen to me carefully. This mystery will not be unraveled with time. On the contrary, with each passing day, your life becomes an even clearer testimony that you are not on the same level as others. Every attempt to understand you turns into proof that you were set apart by me for something that transcends the human mind. They will seek answers, but find only more questions. And those questions will be like chains that bind them while you walk free, with the certainty that your identity is guarded in my eternal heart. And now, pay attention, for the tension is rising. If they couldn't decipher you in the past, what will happen when they discover what I am about to reveal about you in the present? They thought they controlled the narrative. They gathered in secret, devised strategies like generals in a war, convinced that this time they would see your fall. Every word launched against you was like a poisoned arrow. Every slander spread was an attempt to tarnish your reputation. Every calculated action sought to crack your spirit. Some even crossed boundaries they never should have, delving into dark practices that threaten not only the body, but the soul. They thought this would ensure their victory, that your story would end there. But what they didn't calculate is that my universe does not operate under the logic of evil. Everything they sent against you began to return with a force they never imagined. The words they meant to turn into wounds came back as blades against their own lives. The schemes they carefully wove became traps in which they themselves fell. And the most terrifying thing for them was realizing that the consequences came swiftly. Sudden illnesses that doctors couldn't explain, financial losses like a bottomless abyss, friendships and alliances that broke apart for no apparent reason. While you walked with firmness, they crumbled in silence. What was meant to be your defeat became their ruin. This is my unbreakable law, which they did not understand. When someone rises against one of my chosen, every attack returns multiplied. It doesn't matter if it was with words, actions, or dark practices. Everything they launched against you came back to them with far greater weight. And the most striking thing is how it happened. Some noticed that shortly after conspiring against you, they began to lose what they valued most. One lost their livelihood. Another saw their family drift away. Another faced illnesses that made them recognize they were reaping what they had sown. And meanwhile, you kept advancing, stronger, more protected, more incomprehensible. This filled them with fear. In their anguish, they tried to blame others, to find external culprits. But deep down, they knew the truth. They rose against someone who is not alone. Someone whose backing comes from me, from dimensions they cannot understand. And the more they fought to escape the consequences, the deeper they sank into them. It was like running through a maze that closed with every step, like trying to extinguish a fire that only grew when touched by water. Betrayal also played an unexpected role. Those who united to harm you began to turn against each other. Distrust infiltrated their ranks. Secrets came to light, and what was once a group united by envy turned into a battlefield full of accusations. The same poison they prepared for you ended up poisoning their own relationships. Every conspiracy was dismantled by forces they could not control, and every attack confirmed that your path does not depend on their plans. Because while they sank in their own webs, your life rose even higher. The contrast was too evident. You flourishing, they withering. You prospering, they losing the little they had. And here's what troubles them most. They tried to stop you, but they only propelled you faster toward your purpose. They tried to weaken you, but they only strengthened my mantle over you. They thought their hatred would be enough to destroy you, but in reality, it was the fuel that ignited your inner fire. What they planned as your end became their downfall, and what they called your ruin turned into your ascent. And now, what keeps them awake at night is not just the memory of their failures, but the question they dare not utter aloud. If everything they launched against you turned against them, what will happen the next time they try to confront someone who can never be brought down? There is a profound reason, incomprehensible to many, why neither the closest betrayal nor the most calculated attack could touch you. That reason is my invisible shield. It's not walls of stone or human guards. It's a barrier raised in the spiritual realm, an impenetrable shield that activates whenever someone tries to cross the boundary of what I have decreed for your life. To men, it seems a mystery. To me, it is justice. My warrior angels, ancient forces, and a celestial tribunal watch over every step of your destiny. Your enemies noticed this. How can they explain that every door they tried to close for you opened elsewhere? How can they justify that? While they plotted blockades, you received invitations and opportunities you never imagined. It's because where they see obstacles, you see paths. Where they feel chains, you feel wings. It's not luck, it's not chance, it's my heavenly covering. And this covering does not depend on your strength, but on the purpose I established for you before the foundation of the world. Some of those who rose against you felt something they don't openly confess. Fear. Fear upon realizing that no matter how much they planned, a force suddenly stopped them. It was as if they collided with invisible glass. They advanced with hatred, and their plans shattered without explanation. What they didn't know is that those accidents were my direct intervention, the spiritual wall that surrounds you. Those closest to you noticed it too. Those who disguised betrayal with smiles, who thought they could wound you from within, were surprised when their movements were revealed at the exact moment. Because my protection doesn't just block attacks, it exposes hidden intentions. Nothing done in secret against one of my chosen remains hidden for long. The light that covers you illuminates the shadows where they conspire. My shield over you goes beyond what your mind can conceive. There are ancestors who prayed for you before you were born, leaving a legacy of intercession that today transforms into protection. There are angels assigned exclusively to walk by your side, guarding your steps even when you didn't perceive the danger. There are celestial decrees written before your existence that no one can annul. This combination of forces makes the impossible your daily reality. That's why, while your enemies face barriers on all sides, you experience flow. They struggle to open doors that will never be granted to them, while yours open with divine precision at the perfect moment. They live in the frustration of failed attempts, and you advance in the peace of knowing your path is secured by me. This difference is what disorients them, because they find no human explanation for the fact that everything they try against you ends up strengthening you. Listen to me well. My protection doesn't just defend, it transforms. What was launched as a curse becomes a stepping stone. What was sent as a trap becomes a confirmation. And every attempt to destroy you turns into public proof that a greater covenant operates over your life. Imagine the despair of those who attacked you when they realized that even the forces they invoked in the shadows recoiled before you. Entities they thought they controlled fled in terror upon approaching your light. What they believed to be their greatest weapon became the clearest proof that you do not walk alone. And this fear, this clash of realities, is what keeps them awake at night. My invisible shield is like a code that the human mind cannot decipher. While they repeatedly ask, why does nothing work against him? Why doesn't he collapse? Why doesn't he fall? You keep advancing with a calm that unsettles and a strength that inspires respect, even in those who don't understand you. And here, at this very moment, arises the inevitable question that torments them and marks the climax of this message. If everything visible fails against you, what will happen when they realize that what covers you comes from my kingdom, which they can never reach? They were certain that pain would be your end. They believed the tears you shed would mark your surrender, that constant rejections would break your confidence, that betrayals would open a wound so deep it could never be closed. But what they didn't know is that everything they sent against you became the material I used to forge your greatness. Every tear that fell from your eyes was not in vain. It turned into a river of wisdom that now flows within you. Every rejection you faced ignited an inner fire that took you farther than they could ever dream. And every betrayal was not a loss, but a revelation that gave you discernment to recognize who deserves to stand by your side. Pain, far from destroying you, became your strictest teacher. It taught you to rise when no one expected. It taught you to find strength in places within you that you had never explored. It taught you to stay silent when words were unnecessary and to speak with authority when your voice needed to resonate. What seemed like a curse turned into a secret training that prepared your spirit for levels others will never reach. Your adversaries observe this with dread. They see how instead of sinking, you rose, how the poison they tried to throw in your path ended up nourishing your spirit. And this vision consumes them, because every act of hatred they launched became a brick in the ladder you use to climb to another level. The rejection that was meant to close doors turned into momentum to open greater ones. The scorn that was supposed to leave you without options became the foundation that upholds your authority. The most surprising thing is that even the darkest moments, those in which you thought there was no way out, turned into seeds of power. Pain led you to dive into yourself, to connect with my divine strength that was always there, waiting to be activated. While others sink into bitterness, you learned to transform adversity into energy. While others let wounds define who they are, you turned your scars into trophies of victory. That's why your presence is so unsettling today. Because when you enter a place, your energy speaks for you. You radiate the strength of someone who has crossed storms and emerged with a shine that no one can extinguish. You radiate the power of someone who turned pain into purpose. You radiate the truth of someone who can no longer be manipulated or deceived because you have faced the face of betrayal and survived. Pain didn't just change you. It transformed you into a version you would never have reached without it. And though your enemies thought this suffering would be your prison, what they did was hand you the keys to your freedom. They don't understand, but every attempt to destroy you was the chisel that sculpted your greatness. And now comes the part that keeps them awake at dawn. If, with all the pain they tried to inflict on you, you became stronger, wiser, and more powerful. What will happen now that you've learned to use suffering as fuel for your ascent? Now they can no longer hide. Everything is in plain sight. Your enemies, your acquaintances, even those who feigned indifference, now watch you in silence. And that silence is not peace, it's torment. Because as they see you advance, an avalanche of questions consumes them. What power covers him? Why did their methods fail one after another? How is it possible that instead of breaking, he shines brighter every day? No one has answers, but all feel the same unease. Your story doesn't fit the ordinary. Some feel fear because they realize they rose against someone they never should have touched. And now, in their sleepless nights, they think about the consequences of provoking a force they don't understand. Others, consumed by envy, grit their teeth as they see your life expand while theirs contracts. And deep in their hearts, though they'll never admit it aloud, they know your protection doesn't come from luck or human strategies. What you have is my power. The most surprising thing is that even those who mocked you in public now respect you in secret. Those who called you weak now wonder in silence how you withstood what would have destroyed them. Those who bet on your failure now watch your ascent with disbelief. And though they'll never say it, they know that what covers you is divine. Your destiny is written on a level they can never reach. The questions multiply, like echoes without answers. Who backs him? What forces defend him? Where does this energy come from that sustains him when everything should have broken him? And these questions are chains that bind them. Because the more they try to understand, the clearer it becomes that your life is governed by my laws, which they cannot comprehend. This awakening of questions has become a mirror that torments them. Every time they try to explain, logic crumbles. Every time they try to justify, the evidence contradicts them. And all that remains is the uncomfortable certainty that I intervene in your story. Your very existence is a living testimony they cannot ignore. That's why many don't know how to react in your presence. Fear paralyzes them, envy consumes them, respect unsettles them. But all agree on one thing: what you have is not ordinary. Your path is not human, and though they try to hide it, They know your destiny is sealed by my eternal power. And here is the climax of this message. If today they already wonder who you are and why nothing can touch you, what will happen tomorrow when it's revealed that what they've seen so far is only a fraction of the power I will yet manifest in your life? Beloved child, receive these words as my final seal upon your spirit, something others will never understand. You know, deep in your being, that your life is not governed by human laws, opinions, or earthly judgments. Your path is written in eternal fire, under a purpose no enemy can change. Everything they tried against you was in vain. Every attack, every lie, every betrayal only confirmed that you are set apart, chosen and covered by my unbreakable protection. Do not fear the whispers that echo behind your back. Do not fear the looks that don't understand your shine. Do not fear the judgments of those who can never walk where you walk. Because what guards you is not fragile or fleeting. It is unshakable. It is eternal. It is mine. They don't know that every fall of others was a reminder of your destiny, that every failure of your adversaries was a sign that you are called to something greater, something that transcends this time and this world. Today is the moment to rise with power. Today is the day to walk with your head held high, knowing that your victory is already irreversible. Not because a man says so, not because people confirm it, but because I, the Lord, have decreed it over you. Your victory is the answer no one can deny. Your life will be the living proof that my power always prevails over the human. So proclaim, write, declare with faith, comment right now, I am protected. Because that phrase is your prophetic declaration, your spiritual seal, the cry of a soul that knows nothing and no one can stop what I have placed within you. Rise, shine, advance, because what is coming for you will be so great that even your enemies will have to acknowledge it. You are untouchable. You are eternal. You are my chosen one. Amen.